Hi guys, so I'm just gonna be watching this video by BernieSanders, released 5 days ago, which will be around Sunday. I'm gonna give my perspective throughout the video, so if you see me pausing, that'll be why. So let's watch.
Let me take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy holiday season and a wonderful new year. As we come to the end of 2024, it might be helpful to take a hard look at where we are as a nation and how we can best go forward. And let me be honest with you in saying that we are in an extraordinarily pivotal and volatile moment in American history, and things are moving very, very rapidly. The most important point that I want to stress today is how fast our country is evolving into an oligarchic society.
So Bernie is correct, and what he means by oligarchic society, he means that our society is becoming more and more controlled by the rich and the wealthy, aka Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, etc. So all these billionaires take over the country completely. We used to have bad regulation back in the 20th century, but as time went by, especially since the whole trickle down economics BS, things got much worse. It got bad for the rich and the wealthy, but things got worse. And as time went by, unfortunately, we also have Citizens United. Citizens United basically allows the rich and the wealthy to fund as much as they want political campaigns. So if they want to fund Trump's campaign or Kamala Harris' campaign, they're allowed to do that. This happened. We saw how much money was pumped into the whole Kamala Harris campaign, even more so, if I'm not mistaken, than Donald Trump's campaign. And for the most part, it was really a right wing campaign. Yes, is Kamala Harris a better option than Trump? Yes. You can go back to my video, my first video I published in my YouTube channel. I was telling people that I recommend them voting for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. Not because I preferred Kamala Harris over everyone else. I actually prefer a socialist to be president. I want a socialist to, in fact, I want socialists to take over Congress, the U.S. Supreme Court, and the presidency, and also all state legislatures and state government positions. That's my preference. Why? Because in the current situation we're living in, the wealthy have the means have the means over the control of production, distribution, etc. of products and services instead of the workers. In a socialist society, there's a social control of the means of production. Specifically, the workers have control over the means of, of production. Again, I will say this: in a socialist society, the workers have the control over the means of production, meaning they have control of the distribution of goods, and it'll be easier to and services, and it'll be easier to allocate uh, the earnings of such services to the working class, middle class people. As the wealthy currently has a control over the means of production and everything else, they keep everything to for themselves for the most part. They give everyone else pennies. Most people don't make much money under corporations. Even though people may want to believe one day they could be rich and they will be like them, in reality, you won't. People who are rich today, for the most part, they have wealthy parents, wealthy grandparents. They come from generations of wealth. They're not just coming from scratch and they were living in the favelas, as an example, in Rio de Janeiro favelas, located there, and somehow they went from being broke, poor, dirt poor, to now working class, middle class, and then they became rich. Slowly, they kept climbing the ladder. That's extremely uncommon. Most people who are wealthy today, especially the billionaires, they come from wealthy family backgrounds. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled or allow them to trick you that they work hard for their money. They come from money. Donald Trump borrowed millions of dollars from his dad to be able to have businesses. Musk come from rich parents. None of these people actually work extremely hard for their money. Maybe the great grandparents that can argue start from the bottom and start somewhere to gain wealth. But in general, even then, they have some sort of background connection for even going back centuries of wealth that being distributed and allocated within the family, and only within the family, and maybe partners of the family. It's very different from someone starting from the bottom to the top. It's extremely rare for that to happen. That doesn't really happen in the US and in most countries. These people are now your friends. They're literally exploiting work as much as they can. This is a big reason why I work as a civil servant, because being a public servant, at least I can provide some services to the residents of my state because I'm a state government employee. Do I get paid a lot? No. Even with after two promotions, I still make less than six figures. I'm still not making even 100K a year. It's not impossible for me to eventually make that much, but at the current state that I am right now, it would take me closer to 7 to 10 years really to make low 100K a year, not high. Again, that's still better than some people who work low wage jobs in the private sector, nonprofit, even in the government, which is now common because most government jobs don't pay a lot. However, how can people work in Wall Street and be making millions a lot faster than someone working in the government? I'm not saying that people in the government should make millions. I'm not saying I should be making $1 million a year, but I should be making enough to survive in a um, high cost of living state or city comfortably. Not only a mansion, but I should be able to work a full time government job like people did back in the day where they could work one factory job, own a nice house of two, 3 bedrooms, one, two full bathrooms, at least one car garage, a driveway, maybe even have an attic or a basement with one full time factory job with a pension. That's better than my current pension. We gotta keep that in mind, right? I should be able to afford the same thing. I should be able to at least have a 2 bedroom house, nice size living room, bedroom, main bedroom, second, smaller bedroom, at least a car garage and a driveway. I think that should be feasible. I'm not saying it should be the size of a mansion. I'm not saying it should be a full bedroom, but a 2 bedroom, two full bathrooms, good sized living room, kitchen, bedrooms also obviously, and bathrooms, and a car garage and a driveway should be feasible in any state for us to be able to afford to live in, and it's not. But for the rich and wealthy, it is. They can purchase these homes. People who they're not always necessarily just someone's a billionaire, but there are people who make so much money they can afford to spend 800,000 $1 million on a house that is really only worth 400K, but it's a bidding war right now. There should be an easy way where we can socialize uh, housing so that people don't just live in a cheap and broken shelter, but can actually live in a decent sized home, a single family home, not just a multi level home. But that's my opinion. Let's keep watching.
And into two very different Americas. On one hand, we have an America that consists of less than 1,000 billionaires, not a whole lot of people in a nation of 340 million, who have an unprecedented amount of wealth and power and have never, ever had it so good.
Correct.
That's one America. The other America, where the vast majority of our people live, consists of tens of millions of families who are struggling to put food on the table, pay their bills, and worry that their kids will have a lower standard of living than they do. In the first America, the uber wealthy buy $500 million yachts, $270 million mansions. They have private islands all to themselves. They got fleets of jets that take them all over the world. And occasionally they take cool trips on rocket ships that blast off to the edge of outer space. A lot of fun. They also receive the best healthcare money can buy, and they send their kids to the very best private schools and colleges in the world.
That we can only dream
In
of.
this America, the three wealthiest men, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg, own more wealth than the bottom half of our society. Three people own more wealth than the bottom half of our society. And their wealth is skyrocketing.
Again, this is a good point from Bernie. Three people own more wealth combined than the bottom of low income households. If this does not anger you or piss you off, nothing will. This is a big issue. This is just the beginning. It's even worse than that, but this is a big problem. People should be addressing, thinking, maybe I shouldn't vote for the worst option. Not because Kamala or Democrats are the best option, but at least Kamala would sign the PRO Act into law, which will strengthen uh, the power and influence of unions and make it easy for you to be able to form a union or join a union. Under Trump, everything's going to get harder to form a union, to join a union, and to even think of discussing with a union about issues with your employee if you already are part of a union. Keep in mind, Trump and his billionaire friends are going to do everything they can to weaken unions. That includes federal government employees who are part of unions and just general labor unions in the private sector for regular workers. Keep that in mind.
Musk alone is now worth over $450 billion. And combined, these three men are now worth almost $1 trillion. In the other America, millions of Americans are struggling just to provide for the basic necessities of life. In this America, over 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck. Millions work for starvation wages. 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. And
Yep,
over 60,000 die each year because they can't afford to go to a doctor on time.
which is crazy.
In other words, we are living in a nation today where a handful of billionaires have more money than they could spend in 1,000 lifetimes, while at the same time, millions are living in desperation, fear, and are struggling to survive. But let's be clear, our country is not just experiencing an unprecedented level of income and wealth inequality. Today, the ruling elite have brought about a situation in which we now have more concentration of ownership than we have ever had before. In other words, a small number of giant corporations have enormous control over our economy in sector after sector: healthcare, agriculture, financial services, energy, transportation, you name it.
Don't forget that the wealthy also controls the government, especially the federal government. Keep in mind that a lot of people in Congress, including the presidency, and it's going to be with Donald Trump, they're billionaires, or at least they're multimillionaires. So imagine these people passing laws to not only enrich themselves, giving themselves a paycheck in Congress, but also making it easier for them to get tax breaks or not pay any taxes while they increase the taxes on people making less than 30, 40, 50K a year, making less than 100K a year. See incredible, how incredibly unfair this is. And keep in mind, Social Security caps at below 200K a year. So the amount of taxes they're paying for Social Security or FICA is very little because it caps at below 200K a year. So they barely contribute to Social Security, which benefits the uh, lower households or lower income households. Keep that in mind.
A small number of giant conglomerates control what is produced and how much we as consumers pay for their products. Unbelievably, unbelievably, just three Wall Street firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, control assets of more than $22 trillion.
Insane.
These three Wall Street firms are the major shareholders in 95% of S&P 500 companies, exerting enormous control of the largest corporations in the world, three Wall Street firms, unbelievable power. And that is not all in terms of what's going on today. It's not just the billionaire ownership and control over the economy and the media that should concern us. The uber rich are also buying our government. They are buying our government and undermining American democracy.
Yep.
Never before in our history have we seen a ruling class with so much political power. As a result of the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, billionaires and their super PACs can spend unlimited sums of money on political campaigns. And that is exactly what they are doing. You
Correct. That's something I mentioned earlier.
get one vote. They get to spend unlimited amounts of money. During the 2024 election cycle, just 150 billionaires, 150 people, spent nearly $2 billion to buy politicians who support their agenda and to defeat candidates who oppose their special interests. Billionaires who represent just 0.0005% of our population accounted for 18% of total campaign spending. My friends, that is not democracy. That is not one person, one vote. That is not what this country is supposed to stand for. In his Gettysburg Address in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln spoke about, quote, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, end quote. Well,
Unfortunately, we know that the US for decades, if not over a century already, has been really just about the rich and the wealthy. It's not really a surprise. I know it shouldn't be, and I don't want it to be, but this is not just something that happened yesterday. It's being a work in progress.
sadly, today, we have a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, for the billionaire class.
Yep.
We are in a pivotal and unprecedented moment in American history. That's the simple reality. Either we fight aggressively all over this country to create a government and an economy that works for all of us, or we will continue to move rapidly down the path of oligarchy and the rule of the super rich. The choice is clear. We must stand together for democracy and justice. Let's do it. Thank you all very much.
And that's the whole video, guys. So, in the comment section, let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Express your viewpoints if you agree, disagree with Bernie Sanders, and what you think should be done to make things better for the poor, working class, middle class people. If middle class will even exist for much longer, if they even currently exist. Um, as a civil servant myself, I'm someone who really thinks that providing service to the public is crucial, and we need public servants. We should not be eliminating them, as Elon Musk would love to do, and privatize everything in the federal government. Of course, both Elon Musk, but Donald Trump, they all these billionaires want to privatize everything. We should have the means. The well, specifically, the workers should have the means over the control of production, not the wealthy. Oligarchy is not a good thing unless you're rich and wealthy. All right, guys, that's really it. I hope everyone has a good day, and let's see what we can do to improve this country.